CaneSport TV, we're here at the Canes4Life Media Roundtable event where a group of former players and coaches are getting together to talk about what made the Miami program so great and the things that the Miami program can do now moving forward to get back to that level of greatness. I'm Gary Furman here with former running backs coach Don Soldinger, a guy that's surely been missed at the U. And Donnie, when you hear that a bunch of your former players are getting together to talk about the program, I'm sure it didn't take very long to convince you to get in the car and come over here.
I didn't even know about it. Mel called me. He actually texted me and said, he told me what was going on. He said, would you like to come over? And I said, yeah, I'd love to, but I didn't really know what it was about. On the invitation he sent me, it was like that they were going to fundraise for players that have had some financial difficulties. But then I started thinking, I said, man, Alonzo's, all these guys come. I said, well, I was really curious about what this whole thing's about, So that's why I came.
You talk about all the years and all the players and the names, and it's been a rough couple decades here for Miami football. And these guys just so passionately want to see the program get back to what it was. And
well, you know what? The only thing that bothers me is, we won 100 and when I was at Miami, we won 158 games. And then I got let go. I understand that, that happens, okay, they let us go. We lost a few games, I think we were 9-3 and they fired us. But after that, they were struggling. And I'm sitting here, I'm maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Miami. I get in my car, I go down, they don't even call me. I mean, I go back and I'm a diehard man. I'm not going to any other colleges. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm a Miami guy, and I do anything to help them. I've coached special teams. I know what's going on with that. I've coached running backs. I've coached. My first game I was coaching linebackers against Auburn in the kickoff classic. Bo Jackson was the running back, and we beat him. I mean, I know football, and I'm sitting there at my desk. I'm not doing anything. It's a shame, and that's 19 years.
Yeah, and since that day when Miami panicked and broke up the coaching staff, and Miami football has not been the same since that day. And I see you out there riding your bike. I see you out there, walking and and filling time basically. But you make a great point. Like all these years, you could have been a resource at the least. All the great running backs you coached. Miami had the best special teams in the country when you coached special teams.
We had good players too.
and good players, which is part of it also.
Yeah, sure.
And you might have been able to provide some input there too.
Yeah.
How do you go about recruiting better players?
And recruiting. I recruited some great players. A lot of guys I recruited. Number one runner, Brandon Merriweather, Leon Searcy. I've recruited great players also. Horace Copeland, Lamar Thomas. Come on. I recruited a bunch of great guys. I have great, connections throughout the state. As I start thinking back about it, I've done some things. I've worked FBU camps and I've worked some camps and things like that. But here's a guy, here's somebody that has a pretty good resume. My resume is pretty decent, high school and college. And nobody even picks up the phone. And I never pick up the phone to ask for a job. They know where I am. You call me all the time. Guys call me all the time. I keep in touch with all the players. I have a good relationship with them. It was hard on them, but they liked it. They appreciated it. Most of them. Well, I put 10 guys in the league that played at Miami. So it's very frustrating for me.
So tonight, everyone has a voice. People are going to give suggestions. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be shown in video next week on the Crowdit app. We'll have coverage of it this evening at CaneSport.com. So everyone's going to get a voice tonight. When they say Don Soldinger, what do you think Miami can do to get its program back to being at the top of the game in college football? What would be the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, if you go back through the history of the program, and I've been here since I was a kid, I used to sneak in the ball. to watch Boston play. I mean, that's how long I go back. I grew up right across the street from the Coliseum. So all there. But if you look at the program when Saban started it, he kind of started it and then got out. And Howard really took it through. There's always been some kind of tie to the Miami area. Miami's different than any college that I've ever been to. And I think Alonzo would tell you that, or a lot of people. You got to have some kind of community tie, something that ties the to the community. And when you go out, you take a look at the guys they hired outside, Pete Elliott, Stelman from Nebraska. Those guys could never be successful here. No. Even Erickson, came in and he was loaded and won some state championship, but it started going downhill when we got back and took over for him. It was horrible, but it started going downhill. He just wound up, hitting a gold mine when he came in. But you got to have that tie to the community and to the old guard. There's a reason that we were good. These kids had unbelievable work ethic. They were super competitive. They were great. I remember Mel Bratton. I was a clerk of the course when Mel Bratton ran the high hurdles. When he won it I think he won the state as a sophomore, and he won the state as a junior and didn't run as a senior. But he was running like 13.7, 13.8 back then. So I had ties with those guys. And then when Winston Moss, who played for me in high school side, it was Winston, Alonzo, Bratton, Bain, all those guys were local guys. They got together before they went to Miami. And, so I go back a long way with all those guys. They go back to high school when I was coaching high school. So I always had a tie to Miami. You got to have that tie. And if I was telling anybody anything, an AD that gets a job, you can go out and get people, but people don't know the culture of Miami.
It's
you
different.
Got to understand the culture of Miami. That's what I would tell them.
It's different, no doubt about it, Solly. And one of the guys that's trying to get the job as athletic director now is Alonzo Highsmith.
Right.
And your thoughts on what Alonzo would bring to the table in that regard?
No BS, straight shooter, knows what's going on. Been to every college from East Coast to West Coast. I've kept in touch with him. I took a trip around the Great Lakes and saw him when he was in Green Bay. And, took him out to eat. We went out to eat. He's married to Denise. Denise's brother played with my son, Joel. There's a tie right there. He knows what it takes. I talked to Alonzo. He says, every AD in the country asks him, how did you guys do it? Every AD in the country. He knows personnel. He knows all of the things that are necessary to get this thing back on track. And somebody had mentioned Gino to me too. All these guys are guys that understand the culture of the program. And you might have to go out and get a name guy. I don't know if they have the money to get a name.
They have the money.
To get Cristobal back or whoever.
No, they have the money.
But I don't know if he would leave. I look at that. Right now, you look at Miami. I was talking to Butch. Butch just had a birthday, and I was talking to Butch. And when Butch came back, it was hard to get this back to work. Butch, I tell you what, I don't think he gets enough credit. He did a hell of a job getting Miami. When we got there, after Erickson left, it was a mess. I'm talking about a flat-out mess. And they weren't patient with him, but he knew what he wanted, and we worked hard and got that thing back on track. And you got to give him some credit. But those are the guys that understand the program, understand what it is. But it doesn't have the money. Heck, I always tell guys, when I do interviews, they talk about, Miami, you guys were real successful. I went back to high school when Jimmy went to Dallas, and I worked a year for Shula, and then I went back to high school. I made more money going back to high school than I was making at Miami. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And these guys are making 3 times what I made. They make in 1 year what I made in like 4 or 5 years. It's serious. And all we did was win, and they can't win. Now, in defense of what's going on there, if you're not on the inside, you really don't know. I talked to one of the coaches the other day. He called me up. And I keep in touch with some of them. They're playing like 19 freshmen or underclassmen.
Yeah.
They're playing young guys. They've done a pretty good job recruiting. And if you look at their schedule, some of those 2 or 3 point losses could have been wins. And now you're not talking about this. You're talking the other way around. They could have a winning program. It could be Alabama and then all wins. I mean, they were right there in every game, even though the other games were tight. So, but Miami's not a very patient place. It never has been. I remember when they hung Charlie Tate in effigy.
Hey, before we let you go,
Yeah.
obviously Manny is still in the job, so we don't know what's going to happen there.
Right.
But there is a lot of Mario chatter in town.
Right.
If things shake up and Mario were to become a candidate for the Miami football job, what do you think he brings to the table? You know him well.
You know what? I'm impressed with what he's done. I mean, I know you look at Oregon, though, they got carte blanche pretty much. Mm-hmm. He's got carte blanche. He's got the money. Everything's right there. But he's done well. I mean, he made his moves that he had to make. And he worked his way up, and I'm looking at what he did now. You got to go by what he's doing. You can't criticize him. He's done a pretty damn good job.
And the University of Miami has been doing very well. The hospital's doing well, and they're talking about injecting a ballpark figure of about $25 million into the program to get it back moving in the right direction. And that's going to involve hiring a new AD, and it might involve hiring a new coach at some point. And it's going to be interesting. This is an interesting time, and I know everybody appreciates you coming out here and participating in what the former players are trying to do.
Well, it's funny. Everybody says, "Oh, you're in pretty good shape for your age." I've stayed in shape because I was waiting for a call.
Yeah. That's
and
how you spent your days.
Now,
you spent your days biking and walking. And
I do everything. I've been hit on my bike.
How old are you now?
77.
77, everybody. Okay, this guy is the most in shape 77-year-old you will find in the entire country. Trust me.
I'm going to tell you something. If I guarantee you, I can step on the field and coach today.
Really?
No question about it. That's why I've done what I've done.
Uh-huh. Well, maybe they'll make you an analyst now.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I hope I have the ability because I'm a good motivator and I'm good with guys. And it's changed. Everybody says, "Oh, it's changed. The kids are entitled and all this stuff." I want kids that want to get really good, that want to play with the glass full. And, I don't want kids that want something for nothing. I want kids to earn everything they get. And that's one of the things in recruiting that I think you need to do to get the program back. Because if you bring in entitled kids, they leave. They're in the transfer portal, and you don't want that. You want kids that
they had a couple kids walk out last week to go to the portal. Before the week of the Florida State game.
Yep.
Whoever would have thought of such a thing?
That's like when we went, when we had the losing season. The only losing season I had in the 16 years is we were playing with 52 kids, 54 kids, and most of them were walk-ons. You can't really prepare well, and these kids that are in the portal aren't practicing, so they're behind the 8 ball.
Don Soldinger, everybody. You might be 77, but you wouldn't want to get in a wrestling ring with him. I'll tell you that. Donnie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gary. Take care.
Yeah.